Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be turning a song into a work of art. So basically I'm going to be hearing it, it's going to go into my brain, and then it's going to come on my arm onto the paper, and we're going to make a work of art that way. I think this is going to be pretty interesting because my style is known as intuitive surrealism. Intuitive meaning it's kind of like from within, it's instinctual, and then surrealism being like visualizing mindscapes of the subconscious. So it's going to be really interesting to see how I interpret that, my style, into this video. So yeah, let's get into it. One of my favorite ways to create a work of art is listening to music while I figure out what I'm going to create. There are two ways that I use music to enhance my drawings and paintings. The first way is letting the music serve as energy and motivation to keep me drawing for longer periods of time and work at a speedier pace. The second method, which we are doing today, is letting the music affect my imagination. What this means is, while I listen to the song, I allow my imagination to create imagery in accordance to the sounds that I'm hearing. This allows me to create new mindscapes to explore that I then translate onto the paper or canvas however I see fit. So today we set off on our journey to create a work of art based off of a jazz song that I've been fond of for the last few years. The particular song that I resonated with that also ended up being the title of this piece was the song Early Summer by Ryo Fukui. That captures that blooming, energizing feeling that I get from breathing in the fresh spring/summer air after a harsh winter. It feels like everything alive is busy at work, getting set up for what the summer will bring. This album was the first jazz music that I ever really paid attention to, and ultimately is the reason jazz is one of my favorite genres, as I found jazz and my improvisational process with some of my art to be very similar. Ryo Fukui is a Japanese piano player who is most known for his album Scenery, which has received millions of views on YouTube's decades after its initial release. Being inspired by the introduction of jazz that the Americans brought over post-World War II, many musicians, including Fukui, decided to put their own spin on this fresh genre. Ryo became a jazz pianist at age 23, with no formal training, all self-taught. I felt a strong connection not only to the music, but Fukui himself, as I am also self-taught in both the piano and in artistic skill. He was both great at reinventing popular jazz standards and creating his own songs, all memorable in their own ways. I can honestly go on and on and on for hours talking about his work, but to keep it short, Fukui's work stands out as unique amongst the greats that I've heard, and without his music, I wonder how my art would look, knowing how much I've listened to his albums while creating. This is going exactly how I wanted it to. It's not looking how I wanted it to, but it's coming together how I envisioned it. I think this might be one of my best watercolor mixed media pieces yet. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going. I ended up using a wide variety of drawing utensils when making this, starting with watercolor to loosely flesh out the image. I like to create basic shapes and use minimal shading with watercolor in order to map out what I'll be doing next. Watercolor ultimately allows me to establish a theme while still retaining the freedom to go in whatever direction I feel like when I choose to go more detailed. Next, I took out my glass dip pen and started to bring in some of the details with the different colors of shimmering ink that I had at my disposal. I particularly enjoyed the hair at this stage, but I was working on everything but the face because I wasn't sure if I should draw an actual face or put a mask on it. By this point, I kind of saw it as a self-portrait. However, I decided to draw a mask on my face, particularly the masked garden mask that I created a few years back in order to balance out my personal feelings and what I feel the audience can relate to in a way. I was mostly drawing from imagination, using whatever came to mind while I listened to Early Summer, reflecting back on my mind state during this particular time of year. While listening to the song, I can hear the hustle and bustle of both the city and nature, which I found very unique because usually music leans one way or the other for me when it comes to a mechanical sounding song or a more nature-based song, if that makes any sense. I ended up depicting the nature side of things, as when I discovered the original version of Early Summer made by Hideo Ichikawa 2 years before Fukui's version, the imagery that came to mind was more green and yellow in color. One of the interesting things I've experienced with music is emotions that I felt before created by the music, but a memory, image, and deeper feeling that isn't mine, but definitely someone else's. That unknown but intense feeling is what can sometimes be the catalyst to a great work of art, as I try to better understand something that feels familiar yet distant. It feels as if I'm tapping into the collective consciousness that we all share but can't access easily. Music is one of those beautiful things that one can directly or indirectly take influence from. Listening to the notes and the patterns is something I find to be the same process when taking in a work of art, looking at all the patterns and lines that shape the image. All art forms at its core are trying to express the same things, And when you could connect the similarities within every art form, it is easier to gather inspiration from not only your own craft, but masters of different forms of art. Though I'm a visual artist, I am heavily inspired by piano players and comedians, because it's about the feeling being conveyed and the decisions one makes to get there that tells the true story behind the work of art. This mixed media piece, Early Summer, was made using watercolor, glass dip pens, crayons, colored pencil, Faber-Castell pens, and Posca paint pens. To be honest, it's hard for me to exactly pinpoint what this piece means, as it's really a mix of so many different feelings and emotions, both personal to me and some I discovered through listening. But yeah, anyway.